Welcome to another Kerfuffle showcase, and I am absolutely delighted today to have Paul and Steve from Integrated Interest. Gentlemen, how are you?
Good morning, sir. All good, thank you very much. Yourself?
Looking good, yes, I am. I'm looking resplendent, obviously. All good, and very excited to hear about what you guys have got to say, because I know a little bit more than most people here, but I think you guys in particular have got a one of those best kept secrets in the industry that I basically love shouting from the hilltop because I'm a shameless show off. The title of today is we're going to be talking about adapting and marketing to the new norm. But before we get into detail, would you just give us a bit of background on yourselves, and again, how did Integrated Interest come about?
Sure, not a problem. Well, I've been in, I was going to say, design and marketing for over 20 years now. So it kind of started off like that, grinded my teeth, kind of looking at strategies, campaigns, and actually implementing that. A lot of it to do within the estate agency industry, and then there was just a natural progression. More and more became more and more of a demand for that field. So I was going to say, the client started to become predominantly, from a marketing point of view, a managed service. Yeah. So with the managed service that we were offering, it was kind of doing their marketing strategies, etc., etc. A lot of them were using like MailChimp or Campaign Monitor, or those kind of things, which again, email marketing, I mean, when it really started kicking off was probably 10 years ago, I'd say, when it was really getting into it. But one thing we noticed when we were doing it, we just used to hear it all the time, was, MailChimp is great, but it was the uploading of the data, so on and so forth. And you kind of think, was there a way to kind of have a standalone integration, which could work for any email platform? So actually that works really well. As I said, design and marketing, developing, not there for me. Luckily though, known Steve for absolute donkeys, who absolutely guru when it came to that kind of stuff, and I got in contact with you, Steve, didn't I?
Yeah, so I started in software development when I was about 18. Just found natural passion for me. So that was literally, the rest sort of writes itself, really. Like Paul said, known Paul for a long time, sort of kept in touch, and then these sort of requirements started sort of popping up, really. And so we got our heads together and said, can we bring something to market which sort of fills the need? Yeah,
and with it being, it wasn't just, one was kind of got a one-off, but then then there was another, and then there was another, and then there was another. But what we found as well is that people like the model of the likes of MailChimp, a pay-as-you-go kind of thing. Yes. So again, that's what we then introduced into it, was kind of say, well, actually, if you're happy paying a monthly subscription for that, then here's our offering, which again, it's putting our money where our mouth is, and kind of say, look, it's a monthly subscription. There's no kind of commitment to it. If you don't like it, blah blah blah. But there was so much that we could actually do with the that side of things. That it just makes it a nice model to have. But I was going to say, just not.
I think that software as a service, as they call it, whatever just a rental model, there's an assumption there that it's going to be really, really light touch, isn't it? And actually it seems to me, and we'll go into obviously in a lot more detail, but you've actually turned that on the head. You really are hand holding, aren't you? Which of course, agents, first of all, if they're honest, that they're not marketeers. They might have a marketing edge to them, but they genuinely aren't talented marketeers. And if they're not marketeers, they certainly aren't techies. So if you throw those two in together, it's no surprise, is it, that a lot of these email systems, these nurture systems, haven't worked for agents, because of course they've got to master both of those skills to get it working in tandem, really.
I mean, the thing with agents. Sorry.
I think it's a good point, really. Back in the old days of development, where you're estimating costs, how much it takes to, to implement a certain thing, you're talking, 5,000, 10,000, 15,000 pound bills. Yeah. That's where software as a service has really come into its own, really, because if you pitch the service correctly, the sort of right level, at an amount where it is, almost completely negligible, so I was starting off at £99 a month, and then you're sort of giving the agents the service they require. And like you mentioned, they've got their full-time job. They want to sell properties, do what they do best. So they want this sort of stuff to just work seamlessly, in the background. So that's essentially what we bring, really.
Cool. And talk us through the product range then. So what is there? What an agent comes to you? What different things from the kit bag do you have to offer them?
Well, first, one of the first things we do with them though is kind of we just do a bit of an audit, see what they're doing at the moment, see how they're doing things. Because let's be honest, if they've got, I mean, we have our own email sender, which again, I was going to say it's free of charge. Because they may be really happy with MailChimp, they may be happy with campaign, they've got all the templates set up in there. Yeah. And it could be, that whoever's using it could be absolutely spot on. They understand that. So all we'll say there is, we've got this integration, which we can kind of dupe it or reap it, or whoever it may be. I mean, the longest, the list is long and distinguished.
It really is impressive.
I think that's one of our core values. Really, is enabling agents to work with the systems they want to work with, sort of seamlessly. Yeah. So our sort of core offering really is the integration side. So we will connect any system an agent wants to work with via our integration technology. Well,
we'll come on to that because that's a really sorry, I'm speaking over you there.
No, it's okay. Go on.
Well, it's just a really good point that Stephen's made, because there's other bits further down the line I think we'll touch on with regards to integrating with people like FIFO, for instance. Yes. Again, to kind of that, but the integrations that we do, it's not just a one-way integration, it's a two-way integration as well. So we're actually piping that data, because again, MailChimp, Campaign Monitor, or whichever one you use, that information. So as you know, the way I upload the information, that then gets sent out to your database, and it stays in that email sender, that email platform. It never makes its way back into the CRM system, especially with GDPR, and all of that, and kind of it needs.
Well, again, that also comes down to the time aspect, because an agent, although they may want to use the rich services that people like MailChimp provide, they don't want to have to be logging into 2 or 3 separate systems to monitor campaigns and stuff like that. They want it all in one central place, which makes perfect sense.
I mean, we'll go into it a little bit later on, but there is a really nice thing, I think, on our landing pages on Kerfuffle, and there's an integration tab in there, and people need to go and have a look in there to see exactly how many, you again, CRM systems, but third parties in general you're integrating with, because this ultimately is what people are after, aren't they? They are, they have that kind of single sign-on ethos where they don't, they might be using multiple systems, but the idea of rekeying data is just anatomous to them, isn't it?
Sorry, just one of the sort of key points of what our ethos really is. It doesn't matter. So if you look at the list of integrations that we currently offer, it's an extensive list.
Yeah, we're always expanding on it as well.
It doesn't matter. Anybody can come to us and say want to integrate between any 2 systems, and we will sort of facilitate it.
That's great. Yeah, it's really good to have that open view, isn't it? Because it frustrates people a lot about it. Is that CRMs in particular have been seen as the gatekeepers of the data, and that frustrates the crap out of agents.
Absolutely, but so going back to the offering of the kit bag, if you like. So the integration and their email server or email sender or our email sender, as I say, we just want people to it's the integration that we sell. The email sender is almost like a bolt on. It's for free, but also, I mean, there's ones where we've had clients where Steve said before, we start from like £99 for up to 10,000 contacts, and then obviously it's tiered. But by people who are already using MailChimp, we kind of say, look, we can save you the money instantly to pay for the integration. Stop using MailChimp, use our email server, and the money that you save from MailChimp will pay for an integration. So it's a no-brainer for that kind of thing. And then, when they do come across, there's no setup fee for it. We do their email templates for them. So we'll migrate whatever they've got from, let's say, again, MailChimp or wherever it may be, implement that in there. Plus, and this is where it comes on to, in the new norm, we'll set up automated triggers for them as well. We'll set them up, several automated triggers. So even if they're not in there sending emails out every week or every day, or obviously segmented, targeted emails, it's still making money for them. It's still bringing in revenue from either instructions, valuations, cross-selling on conveyancing or, mortgage brokers, et cetera, et cetera. So it's doing that thing for them. Even when people complete, for instance, I know I mentioned FIFO before.
Yeah.
When people complete, then it sends a message to ask that person to give a rating, whether it be Google or Trustpilot or whatever it may be. So it started off like that.
Yeah.
From there, and it was quite good timing actually. We launched it at the beginning of the year. So iVal. So iVal is a standalone, or again integrated app for iPad. So I'm Apple biased.
Yeah.
An iPhone, an iPad. You can even have it on your desktop as well, where it gives an accurate valuation of the product. So it takes you through 5 steps. You download it, it takes you through 5 steps. Tells you about the property.
I think just to interject slightly as well, some of the sort of point of iVal really is, we've seen other people's offerings where you can go onto various agents' websites, fill in property details. But we saw a bit of an opportunity really for an even simpler journey. So Paul mentioned there the app. So we basically launched a completely bespoke cross-platform app. So obviously predominantly Android or iOS, but there are other platforms as well the app sort of can run on. So a potential vendor can install it onto their phone, a couple of clicks, obviously taking photos and videos directly from the device. There's no messing around uploading to an external website. And then within one press of the button right at the end of the, like Paul says, sort of 5 simple steps, the agent receives all the data.
Nice. Yeah.
But I was going to say, we'll touch up because there's so much more as well. Like it's kind of the clever stuff. And then the final bit that we've got is the imprint as well, which is, again, it's due to the integration. So we've looked at it from that side of things where, again, into the property management platform, when a house goes from, on the market to exchange or sold, whatever it may be, it will fire, a 20/20, 50/50, whatever it may be, campaign automatically out. The agent will receive an email to let them know, if they want to cancel it, to proof it. So it really just goes, and it's another thing off their list, that they don't have to worry about. And
I think that underlying theme really is automation.
Yeah.
So it's taking all these manual lists that agents have to sort of run through. They've got to remember to market to the nearest properties that one they've just exchanged or completed on. They've got to remember to send a FIFO review link. It's just taking all those manual steps off the list really and automating it from top to bottom, so they've got time to do what they do best.
But doing what you're doing there as well, so integrating things like print as well, that's massively important, isn't it? Because a number of those other email platforms they're just a one-trick pony, and as we know, to be able to have that on the platform approach there can only reinforce it's greater than the sum of its parts, isn't it, essentially?
Yeah, absolutely. And it was something that, we've done that service for people, part of our managed service. We know the people to talk to create the DM cards, which was part of it. But then you just think, again, by automating it and we keep looking at it as things as how we can take cost out. Again, it sounds bizarre. How we can so our managed service is a fantastic service, but it's more suited towards, I was going to say, newsletters, branding, websites, social media, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
But to be able to take the cost out of saying, actually, you don't need us to do this, whether it's us or whether it's someone else, it's there for you. It's just going on, automatically doing it for a nominal price. Just seems that. So at every point where we can be more cost effective to the agent, especially in the current market as well. I know.
Who doesn't need it? They all want it at the moment, don't they?
Well, I was going to say there's so many different opportunities for them as well out there that they can be using that for. So we always look at how to be like that to take it forward. But
and so with those different, you've got obviously some really innovative different product lines there and everything else. What are the main benefits for agents then, and how can you actually help impact their business?
Well, as we say, automation is one of them. So the integration, it's the automation that then provides. Obviously, there's the the standalone items that you can tell. So let's say the property portals, for instance. So information comes through a property portal. How does that then go? For instance, do you send a thank you message? A lot of people, it's surprising when we actually do these orders, how many people haven't got just what you'd expect the basic things to be set up for, which is like a welcome message or a thank you message, kind of thank you very much for kind of blah, blah, blah. but then it's the C2A, the call to actions off the back of that. Thank you very much, blah, blah, blah. By the way, you know, click here for our property search or click here for evaluate. Do you know, it's as simple as that. But what we also try to do on that is then take them on a nurturing campaign or a lead generation campaign, whichever one, you know, you want to call it from whatever marketing jargon. You know, they're near enough the same, slightly different, but near enough the same. You know, and that takes you on a certain journey. There's the ones, as we spoke about before, when someone does complete, you know, instead of, hi, thank you very much, or sending that personal email, again, it looks like a personal email, the way the automated messages are done, even by putting people's faces on the email footer when you send it to ask for kind of, it's a personal touch, even though it's automated, which then gets people to engage with that and go, do you know, actually, it has been a great experience. But that then, you know, goes out there and the world sees it. It's like anniversary messages. So anniversary messages, you know, not for birthdays or things like that, but it's for the, you know, we sold the property to them 3-5 years ago. So it's a reminder then, you know,
so that can literally be put into place. If somebody just wants to kind of guarantee that all past clients can get an anniversary, you know, can't believe it's been a year since you bought or sold with us, you can kind of just fire and forget, put that into your system there, and at least you know that core demographic is going to be stayed in contact with. Is that right?
That's absolutely right. And, you know, we've even got there for appointment reminders as well. You know, so we do, as I say, several standard ones, but we've got a list of about 30 odd, you know, that then takes you through this automation.
It's almost a bit like a virtual assistant, really. And, you know, it's a good point, really touching on the historic data, because obviously, you know, agents aren't going through, you know, the systems thinking, you know, 12 months ago, these sold, send them a reminder. And if they are, you know, the time could be spent better elsewhere. So it's almost a bit like a, you know, a virtual assistant, really. You know, we're going through and helping them keep in touch with the, you know, historic customers all the way through to iVal. You know, so iVal collecting all the data to put in front of the agent, so they've got a better idea, you know, when they sort of valuing the properties.
So that's like people like Josh Fegan always talking about, look, you don't worry about, you know, externally, you've got all the data locked away in your existing database there, but realistically, you found it very difficult to date to actually utilize that in a proper fashion.
Absolutely. I mean, you look at the UK, you look at the size of the databases we have in the UK, and then Australia, for instance, tiny amount of data that they have in there. But it's that loyalty again, it's that kind of experience that they've had with it. And, you know, that's why they keep kind of circulating and asking those questions. And it's the same with ours. You know, if you start to exploit that database that you've got better, more efficiently, and it's segmented, it's targeted, the right message at the right time, it pays dividend. And but again, we pulled off the stats this week on one of our clients. I can't remember which one it was now, whether it was Brock Taylor or whether it was I'm trying to think of the other one, or whether it was Hackney and Lee. On the amount of portal leads that they've got in November, which they were saying a quiet month, you know, everyone was saying it's a quiet month. They had, I think it was on the notes, 83 came through. So, but, you know, kind of on that, but it's, how is that then, you know, we capture those, we put those, you know, that they're all in there and they're all getting messages, and we kind of look for any agents that aren't doing this, you know, the opportunities that they're missing it, increasing their database, increasing their reach, their brand, you know, is kind of.
And actually, it's probably worth touching on as well. You know, a lot of people in the industry are used to email marketing and email messages going back and forth and stuff. Yeah. But in that sort of respect, we're looking sort of more, you know, into the future, really. And looking at other more sort of targeted ways of keeping in touch with, you know, potential vendors and past customers and stuff like that. You know, facilitated through things like iVal, so push notifications and the like. So not just, you know, you get a lot of people who are sick of seeing emails flying around, especially, you know, on the marketing side of things. Everyone's got the mobile phone in hand these days. So, you know, there are other channels that don't really seem to be utilised in the best way.
It's about saying hyper relevance, isn't it, these days? You know, so going back 10 years ago, you had the golden ticket getting an email, but with that, how busy the inboxes are these days, you've got to stand out from the crowd, haven't you?
Exactly.
Absolutely. But, you know, again, by sending all these, you know, these and the relevant communications as well. So again, the managed service, we look at doing a hot property and then kind of a follow up from that, which you kind of see open rates about 25%, and then the follow-ups on these go to like 70%. So we're making sure that we are engaging with the right people. But more importantly as well, they get the reports for this. So within our email sender, you kind of, obviously, you can track who's opened it, clicked on certain links. So you're able to get these reports off, which we just on the verge of automating as well. So you can kind of just fire them through. So every day or every week, whatever they decide, they can kind of then just get these reports. And it gives the team that list then to kind of say, right, here's our opportunities. Here's the ones, kind of clicked on the valuation link. Have they done that? Have they actually converted? If not, I'm on the phone and following that up. These are the people who have kind of, looked at a property. It's where we can kind of start to identify and give those hot leads to.
Is that Paul formal kind of, as I'm thinking about, is that formal kind of lead scoring, once you get above a certain criteria, or is it based on, they've opened up on that email, we think that person is right for a phone call?
No, it is. It's based on lead scoring, the way it works.
That's really powerful, isn't it? If you can get that working, if you can get the events and triggers, tied to the right, weighted to the right score, that then, it makes the level of conversion just so much greater, doesn't it? If you get it.
We do it similar to the way you have it on, Kerfuffle with your star rating. So we've got it on a 5-star rating is the way ours works.
Right.
So yeah, anything that goes then it will fire to that. But we've also got things in there, which is some agents absolutely love it as well, where it's geolocation. So we can see exactly where the emails have gone. And so we've got a map in there of the UK. So it'll kind of be able to give you, let's say, for instance, leads, for instance. So you kind of think, well, actually, I think my target audience is there, and this is where all the emails go, and this is where my, blah, blah, blah. Well, you actually find it's that area there. So you then...
Yeah, the data brings it, it's alive, doesn't it? It actually starts to become really valuable information.
It really does. So I was going to say, so it's really that I would be on the first thing, that we said about how to become more efficient and cost effective. It's kind of taking your leads that you already have, and also those that are coming through, and by using it and sending them through automation, which you get through the integration, it kind of it pays for. I mean, that's what a lot of the clients say. After the first month of using it, they get one instruction. It's almost pay for it for the whole year.
Yeah. Well, you just have to stop saying the immortal line, you just need one more listing to pay for this. But I keep talking to everybody actually and saying, look, we've got to take that back, because actually you're not just adding one instruction, are you? You're not giving them one listing, you're giving them multiple listings when done right. And you shouldn't hide from that, because otherwise how can you properly talk about the ROI that you are delivering as a business to the agent?
Exactly. And this is compounded as well, month on month, the way it kind of, it works through it.
Yeah.
But what I was going to say, but it's weird as well, because the way the pandemic has hit and stuff like that, we've seen, definitely higher engagement in digital communications. People are using the systems more, people are getting used to it, because they are working from home, and it is, I'd say, one of the best ways to kind of get in front of people, and have that conversation. And this is where I'd say iBell was then kind of brought into it, because we've been having conversations for a while amongst the team and putting our roadmap together. And one of the things that we said was instant online valuations. They are fantastic lead generators. You go in and you kind of go, how much is that going to be? It's like looking to sell whatever it may be, or even people that have, we'd call them tire kickers. They bought the house 12, 18 months ago, and they're not really, they just want to know that new kitchen they put in, or whatever it may be, that makes them feel a little bit warmer inside, knowing that they haven't lost money. But the one thing, again, from conversations with agents that we've been having, when we, some will use it, some won't, and some will say, the downside of it is it upsets quite a lot of people. So let's say, put my details, fantastic, you get your top, middle, and bottom. So you think your house is worth £400,000, and actually it's only worth £300,000, 350, and it's that there that was starting to, from again, clients, it's infuriated the vendor or the potential vendor.
Yeah, you hear that, don't you? Yeah.
So by bringing on iBell, which was, again, it was well timed, it wasn't meant to kind of hit with the pandemic, but it sat in there quite nicely, where they could simply download an app, go through the 5 stages, as I say, but on the first stage as well, we can have it, as I say, integrated or standalone. So even if they just go for the standalone, as soon as they go through those 5 stages, the first stage is data capture. You know, tell us about you, what's your property, what's your address, email, blah, blah, blah. So as soon as they fill that in, that already gets pinged over to the branch. And the way we do it with it's secure email that they have to kind of download from to be able to access it. But again, you know, let's say you have several branches, we've got it so it goes to that relevant branch. So it's only one app, regardless what it is. And we'll send it to that relevant value, but also have it integrated. It goes automatically into the system. The whole business can view it, you know, can see what's going on. And it then takes you through it. 5 easy questions. But it's, you know.
So just touching on the, you know, the sort of current online valuations, really. Yeah, sort of what Paul touched on there is, it's about addressing that, because it's such a wide sort of gap between the lowest, you know, the lowest estimated value and the top one. Sort of iVal really being sitting at a place where we can send the relevant information to the agent. So yes, they might have to wait 5 minutes for the evaluation to come back, but it'd be much more accurate.
Well, I was going to say the way that we've tried to get it as well is to kind of to give it twofold. So they will go through the app, and at the end they can pick a time when it's convenient for me as the potential vendor to kind of say, I'd like to go through this. So they can either have a face-to-face where someone will actually come already with, you know, photographs and videos that have been uploaded and say, right, you know, come here 12 o'clock tomorrow and we'll kind of go through it, you know, because again, with the integration, it goes into the valuer's diary and can see the times that's available there.
Yep.
We can offer the other one where it's an online valuation, where it's kind of over Zoom or FaceTime or whatever it may be. So it's not kind of taken away, you know, because a lot of agents will say, you know, I like to go around, I like to have that face-to-face interaction, blah, blah, blah. You can still have that, but what you're doing there, you're already pre-armed. You've already, you know, aware of, you know, the building itself, the square footage from being able to do measurements, so on and so forth. So it makes it a lot more accurate to kind of give a true valuation rather than the instant online, where, you know, you get that wrong, you then go someone 400,000, actually it's more 325. I don't agree with that. I'm going to get another agent in to give me another valuation on it.
So we've touched on a huge amount of things there that obviously set you apart from kind of other marketing platforms. Is there anything else? I feel a bit greedy asking for anything else there, considering what we've just been through, because clearly it is a very unique proposition that you know should warrant people to pay attention and obviously get in contact. Anything else missing that sets you apart from the crowd?
I was going to say there's also, well, with the iVal as well, the way it's being developed, as I said, is the room measurements as well. So we're going to, well, working on, it should be launched in January, where we'll be able to, it is the room measurement. So, sorry, frog in the throat there. Where we will be able to just literally point your phone as the potential vendor, do the measurements just from dot to dot, and then be able to send that through. But the beauty of it is, we're also looking on the roadmap to be able to do similar to Giraffe or Matterport, where we'll be able to do a 360 and kind of actually have a map of that room as well. But that, as I say, that's middle of next year.
I think in a good way that sort of does highlight where we sit. We see ourselves really at the bleeding edge of technology. So looking to utilise, like Paul mentioned there, you know, the new LiDAR sensors in the latest raft of iPhones and iPads. You know, we're not 12 months away from utilising these things. You know, we're a couple of months away from utilising them. So looking at, you know, what's available really, what's going to benefit, you know, agents.
So basically they can relax because, you know, they don't have to stay on top of all, you know, keeping abreast of a new technology, because you guys are going to look at it, decide what works right for agency and translate that into essentially a tool that can help them out.
Yeah, but also have the conversations.
So I was going to say that's an important thing there that Steve's just picked up on. It's not us deciding what we think is right for the marketplace or the industry. It's by having the conversations with our clients to kind of say, right, you know, here's our top 5 ideas.
Yeah.
What would help you? What do you need at this moment that kind of would improve it? So again, it's when we've been talking about the iVal, one thing that we'll be launching as well is it's a valuation tool for the agents. again, so the agent can then go around with the iVal to exactly near enough the same experience as the potential vendor themselves. But they go around, use the app for the valuation. Again, when that information is all done and set, press the button, it submits it straight into the CRM system, so it's already in there. Yeah. And again, if they have the automation with the emails, we've put them on that journey again. So it's just all, I keep saying it, integrated. It's all interlinked. So whatever happens here will have an effect. It's a ripple effect.
And I think. Sorry, yeah, just touching back on that point. Really, that's really what excites us is when we have conversations with agents and they say, you know, can we look at doing this? And it's something which is the challenge, and it challenges us. Yeah. So it may not be an off-the-shelf offering, you know, much more sort of bespoke nature. But especially, you know, myself as a developer, really, I sort of revel in the challenge of, oh, you know, we're looking to do this, we can't find any offerings, or, you know, we don't think it's possible to do. We're really getting our teeth into that side of it as well.
I was going to say, just with Steve there talking about the bespoke as well. So with the iVal app, it's a bespoke app, so it's all branded up as well for that agent. Yeah. So you know, we'll create it in their colours at X, Y, and Z. But then also, you've got to put this on a Apple Store or Google Store. So again, we know we keep saying it's free of charge, but it's because we know of the stickiness and the return on investment that this product gives. You know, so we'll free of charge, we'll do the store as well. So we'll create all the graphics, all the wording, etc., etc.
Yeah, you're looking for long-term clients, aren't you? Ultimately, you know, yeah. That's a sign of the confidence of you as a business to be able to put out. I'm always very impressed with companies that do that, because it's putting your money where your mouth is, essentially. Because
yeah, it's been mentioned a few times, return on investment, but to be honest, it makes that conversation very easy to have because of the low price point nature. And you know, when we're sort of explaining, like Paul touched on there, really, you know, if an agent wants to just launch an app into the Apple App Store, you know, there's lots of hurdles to jump over, you know, fees to pay, all that sort of stuff. With us, essentially, we brand it up, we get them to sign it off, and then we handle everything else for them at such a low monthly cost. It almost becomes a bit of a no-brainer.
I was going to say, you know, Baldoors is a great example of that as well, how we implemented those. You know, and they, when we were doing it, it was, I mean, 11, 12 branches, whatever they may have, and it was making that information so whoever had submitted that valuation to go to that right branch, to that right person.
Yeah. And guys, what would your advice be to agents on marketing next year? Obviously, it's been a challenging year for most agents now. What would you be advising them to do for next year?
I'd say it would be kind of to harness what they've got at the moment and utilize it more. It's taken advantage because, you know, come March next year, no one quite knows what's going to happen with stamp duty. You know, will they kind of, you know, and so it's to keep in touch with the contacts. It's kind of, I mean, you know, even traditional, like we were saying before about our automated 2020s, you know, it's kind of, it's to use the database that you've got. It's getting the relevant messages out to, you know, at the relevant time.
I think as well, obviously, with what the country's been going through over the last couple of months, it's obviously going to change the way we work for a very long time. So to also think about the things that they're sort of used to doing in person and looking to technology to augment those processes and to remove that, you know, that worry of, you know, going into simple things like, you know, what you used to just turning up at somebody's house to do a valuation. Try and sort of think of all those in-person processes and try to sort of obviously implement them, you know, with the technology that's available, but while still giving as good service as, you know, sort of face-to-face.
Got you. Look, guys, we also spoke about integrations earlier, and I said we'd have a look at obviously your page. So obviously on Kerfuffle, everyone has their landing page. Encourage you to go and do a bit of groundwork on these. Obviously got some great reviews on there from the agents we're talking about, as we can see here. Piers from Pocock and Shaw, absolute no-brainer. In our first month of using integrated interest, we had 81 valuation inquiries, staggering number that, with half leading to valuation appointments. It's an absolute no-brainer and gives us the advantage in the local market. For example, from just one instruction from a campaign, integrated interest has paid for itself. Again, I'm guessing this is you're enjoying this sort of feedback. Brock, tell you Joshua Harris here. We have been using their integrated marketing platform and managed service for the last 5 years. I have to say the service they provide is fantastic. Helps us enormously as they send regular newsletters and property updates for us. Taking the time to select the right properties and target the correct audiences perfectly. The detailed feedback we get from their reports 48 hours after the initial send is great. It allows us to follow up and convert these opportunities. I won't go through them all here. There's another great one as well from Gloucestershire Property Online from Andrew Bouchon, but go and have a look through. But critically, again, especially with companies like these guys, integrations is a key one. To be able to go in here and check these off the list, this really shows that they're delivering on that promise to work with anyone. And as I said, that's a really enviable list. I don't know of many companies that manage to tick off all of those, given how many of those are kind of from different households, if you like, in terms of here. You've clearly got a good level of diplomacy to get that integration happening.
That's down to Steve and his skills there, without a doubt.
And again, it comes back to what I mentioned earlier, really challenging for me as a developer. You know, you'll hear people mention integrations and, you know, things like, oh, as long as it's got an API,
yeah,
that doesn't matter to us. If you have an API or not, we can integrate with it. And, you know, a rebel, anybody wants to challenge us to integrate.
Well, there you are, viewers. Watch that. Steve, he's laid it out for you.
Yep, feel free.
That sounds great. That's what they want, someone fighting in their corner to get that happening. And what does the pricing structure look like, guys?
The pricing structure is, so entry level is £99. Yep. So that's up to 10,000 contacts. So we have 3 tiers, shall we say, up to 10,099, up to 20,000, 199, and then above 20,000 is 299.
So it's worth mentioning.
Very fair, transparent system based on the amount you have in there. That defines how much you pay.
And usually what we do as well, just to make sure that they are paying on the right level, because people, as we know, will have a massive database.
Yeah.
So what we say is, again, we set it up for them for free. We do the templates for free if you need a transition over. We'll set up the triggered emails, but we'll also send out an initial email on their behalf. So let's say, for instance, they've just creeped into that 199 band because they've got 11,500 contacts. We'll say, look, let's send an email on your behalf, just a valuation email saying how much is your blah, blah, blah. And then when that comes back, if that has fallen over into the, under 10,000 because of all the bounces and, unused email addresses, then we make sure that we put it in the right category instead of just going straight off and put it in the higher one.
Cool. I mean, you've obviously had a busy year already. What's going to be new for you guys in 2021?
Well, I was going to say one thing that we're looking at for as well is content marketing as well. So again, a lot of what we're trying to help agents is they've got these fantastic websites as you touched on before, but we need to kind of make sure that they are updated and being sent to. So an email is great, it sends you all the information, but you actually want it to go to the relevant page, the relevant site. So that's one thing that we're looking at, where it's the this data that you can capture by data forms on web pages. So it's trying to look at that more and automate that process and getting their SEO up instead of the likes of, it sounds bad, I'll use FIFO as an example. You use FIFO and it'll send you to a FIFO page to show off their case studies, not case studies, but their ratings, their rankings of your actual product. Okay. So what we're looking to try and do is drive that to that page, to that website, not a partner website of it. So it's kind of more relevant information on there. So we're looking at being able to automate articles to give content to improve SEO. Again, it's just what content's like. Video content, for instance, you can't automate that sadly, but it's kind of, it's getting that up there so people are going back and visiting the website so it's fresher. So that's one thing that we're toying with, besides the iVal and the push notifications. And
that's great.
So we're really pushing the mobile technology and, like I say, the new sensors in the newer devices.
Well, even
seeing where we can take them, really. Even
the geolocation as well. So you can get it in the phone. This is another thing we're looking at, where you kind of then, you could be walking down the street, you get a push notification. Similarly, you do, Sky Sports or BBC or wherever it may be. But there's a property in this area, blah, 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 in your price bracket. Would you like to view the details? Would you like to arrange a viewing? Again, it's being able to send those push notifications through to the right segmentation, to the right demographic, whatever you want to call it, in a certain area.
Very exciting. That really will be good. And I think you've been really kind enough to come up with a deal for our Kerfuffle members, haven't you, as well, guys?
Yes, well, we've got a deal for that. We've also got one for your Pink Thursday as well.
Yeah, Pink Thursday tomorrow. Pink Thursday.
Which I think
shameless.
It's a cracking idea. It is. It's a good idea. But yeah, the Kerfuffle one, I think the standard one is 50% off. To be honest, Simon, I can't remember unless you bring it up.
This is where, let me go back to the wonderful Kerfuffle website, and here we go. We've got it here: 50% off the iVal virtual valuation app with our two-way integration email sender for 3 months. Both with a free setup, as you said before, of integration email templates, automated messages, and app build and population to Apple and Google Store. So that's fantastic. So that's really, really good. So again, I suppose the key thing here is you know, we haven't got much of this year left, but if people are thinking about mixing things up, changing it for next year, now's going to be the right time to have a conversation with you, hasn't it?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, to implement any of the stuff that we've spoken about there, set up the way it currently is, you're looking between 5 and 10 days. If that's we can usually get the iVal up within 5 days.
Okay, that's great.
And the integration depends on what triggers and stuff like that. It'll take between 5 and 10 days. But the beauty of it is we've already got those in place. So yeah, it should be just on demand, which is this year for us has been bonkers, which is great. Which is great.
Of course, I mean it's a lovely journey. As you said, those are really, really. I mean it in the nicest possible way, but those agents are high maintenance. You know, they expect the very best. So for them to have chosen you, but to still be using you years later tells a hell of a lot. So look, let's just finish on the 3 takeaways then, guys. Thank you very much for that. First and foremost, that's great. So the first one is obviously how to become as time efficient as you possibly can do, saving costs because you're not really doing it through the automated integrations.
Definitely.
That's a simple one, isn't it there? How to carry on with the valuations in a tiered society as well, though. So talk us through that. That's essentially summarize that for us.
Yeah, it's, it's not that the leads disappear, people click on it. It's to make sure, again, it's with the automation to follow up on these.
Yeah.
To kind of get them in the system. And even just, if you haven't got time to do it, they go on a nurturing campaign, which recognizes that they have done there, even just by saying, thank you very much, one of our team will be in touch. And then just kind of go through, what happens when they do engage? Is there a process in place that you've got to kind of say, yes, have you had the valuation? Yes, have you had this? Have you had, whatever it may be, and the cross-selling that can go through it, it's just taking them on that journey.
Obviously, utilising things like iVal really as well. It's what I mentioned earlier, taking the things they're used to doing face-to-face and enabling them to do, sort of follow that same process using technology really, while still keeping that personal touch, that personal aspect of it as well.
And that's really succinct. And then the last point of that is, just looking at lead generation moving forwards, isn't it? Is to keep it ticking over and making sure that as you said, this actually becomes ever more powerful as your automation and as it just keeps ticking over in the database, isn't it?
Yeah. Well, it's also, to look at it through different channels that are available to you. People are, you don't know how the tier system's going to kind of work in the new year. People go from 3 to 2 and 2 to 3 and so on and so forth. So again, you've got the likes of, as I say, email marketing, social media as well. It's important to keep that up to date. So blatant for, on managed service as well, where we look at that, but it's kind of whatever you send out on one channel, make sure, it goes on the other channels as well.
Reusing that. That's
direct mail as well. People are in the they will pick it up. They will see, your brand recognition for that as well. The boards that go up, everything there helps to it. So the more platforms you're on, even simple things that, you don't need a marketing agency to do. It's like Facebook and, remarketing ads. And you've also got Facebook as well, where you can upload all your email contacts to and send out and boost to those guys as well. It's looking at what you've got and kind of saying, yes, it's great that it will go up, but how can we wring out all of the, sorry, you go there, but every, opportunity that's available to us.
Yeah, and that's what systems like yours are absolutely made for. Well, look, guys, I absolutely enjoyed that. That's really highlighted to me there. I think you've got a real opportunity, obviously, there. People are looking for, for these nurture systems, mailing systems that deliver, and they're not trying to. They're not trying to teach you a state agency. You guys have been doing this for years, don't you? So you've got it. You work with some of the best agents. So I wish you all the very best, and obviously stay in contact with us and keep us updated.
Thank you very much. Cheers, Simon.
Cheers, Simon.
Cheers, guys. Thank you very much.
Bye.
Cheers.